Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Suman Cherry with us. She is CEO at Cherry Talent Group. She's a talent matchmaker, construction recruiting expert, and truth teller. So let's see if she can tell my truth today. We're going to talk about recruiting done the unconventional way. She has a cool business model, married for more than 20 years, one daughter of 11. It's pretty cool. This pod is brought to you by podpair.com. If you want to start your own podcasting and scale it to the sky, you can go to podpair.com. We help you monetize the unconventional way. Suman, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. So a little about myself. I think we talked a little bit. I have one daughter. She's 11. I live here in Houston. I've been in recruiting for about 20 years. Started off in medical recruiting, kind of moved my way into oil and gas, which is kind of the most important thing here in Houston is oil and gas and medical quite a bit. And then I moved into construction recruiting. So I do a lot of recruiting in construction right now. So most of my career has been more contingent-based recruiting, which is the traditional recruiting. If you're not familiar, it's you pay a first year salary, 25% of their first year. It's been kind of the go-to for recruiting, for external recruiting. A few years ago, I had a client approach me and ask me if I wanted to do some contract recruiting during COVID. And I was kind of not even doing a lot of recruiting at that time, actually. I kind of had stepped away from recruiting because I was a little burned out on it. And I just loved it. I love doing it from this kind of more contract, hourly, consultative based. And so over the last almost close to 2 years now, I've really rolled it out. It's been like wildly successful. We've been able to help. I think we've worked with over 25 clients now, and we've helped to fill like 65 positions. So I'm really proud of what we've done. And it's just a different type of approach. It's very human to human, very much more about like trying to understand really like being a matchmaker, like you see it in dating. It's the same thing in finding the right people, right? What's going to match your organization? Who's going to match your vision? And how do you kind of correlate that whole process? So it's been so fun. I love it.
So do you have scale in mind with that model, or do you think it will stay sort of boutique size?
No, I have like big plans. Yeah, no, I have huge plans I want to change how recruiting's done. I really do. I just think that there's another way that is very much more aligned to more of a human piece. And so, yeah, the sky's the limit for sure.
So how do you scale like human to human approach? You hire more cool and high quality humans?
Right. So I hire recruiters, and the recruiters, I teach them my process, right? I teach them how that we need to be human with people, right? We need to understand their story because everyone has a story. We're more than a resume, we're more than a piece of paper. So we have conversations with people. We need to treat people with that type of level. As well on the client side, we really try to give a very honest depiction of who the client is versus selling them on a position. We're being really honest and understanding who our client is and what their mission is and who they are as an organization, and really understanding the type of personalities and what's going to work. We have a really detailed approach with that piece. And then we go out and we have conversations, and we have real conversations. So that's what we do.
That's cool. And you charge 70 to $85 an hour. So that's quite unconventional. What do you think everyone in the recruitment industry charge a percentage of the salary or first year, I think, or first to fifth year? Why is everyone like doing and charging the same?
I think it's just always been this way. I think it's one of those things like when I started recruiting 20 years ago, it's just always been the norm. Because I think that time recruiting used to be very difficult to access candidates. When I started recruiting, there was no LinkedIn, there was really no Indeed, there was none of these types of pieces. It was just like mailers we send out and we hope the mailers came back, or phone books. I'm really dating myself at this point, but now, with technology and social media, there's a lot more avenues to access candidates. So I think moving forward, I think this is just a different approach. And I mean, you make a lot more money, right, when you're making the 25% on the first year salary. You're not as invested in it. versus what we do. Our placement fees tend to run a third of what our competitors are charging, but we can fill the positions a lot faster. We have a better relationship, and the clients are just more responsive because they're spending money, right? So they're much more responsive on the feedback. They're much more responsive of sharing with us, like, really, who are your competitors? Who do you want to see these people from? And also, we try to open our clients' eyes sometimes, because a lot of times when we look to hire someone, we have this really limited viewpoint, like it has to be this, and really it's usually just a few really essential roles, as far as the hard skills, and then there's a lot of soft skills that come along with it. And how do you really assess that? So I don't know. I don't know why no one else does it, but I love it. It's fun.
Well, you certainly seem to be doing it differently. And one potential correlation that I attribute this to is you being a transformation coach at Heart Aligned Coaching. Tell us about that part of your life.
Yeah, so I mean, there's another side of me where I don't really do as much coaching anymore, but the spiritual side, or my connection to, however you want to say, universe, God, however you want to say that, it's a driving force in my life. Really believe that everyone has the potential to be unlimited in their life, and that I hold that space for people, right? And so even when I'm recruiting, I really try to see them from the place of my heart, if that makes sense. I know it kind of sounds cheesy, but that's what I did in my transformation coaching. It was really about mindset and how to shift perspectives on things, how to open up. A lot of us times we live in a perspective where we believe everything is very limited, but when we shift our perspective on life and we understand that we start taking things not so personal, and we start taking responsibility and accountability for our lives and the choices we made, we get to learn how to make new choices. So I think that has really helped me to transform me into a space where I can lead from that space, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. The folks you work with, do they have a problem like with showing up their true self at work, or do you only work with people that are refreshing and are transparent about their intentions? You select like a specific type of folks that you work with on the employee side, and then on the employer side, like how do you filter your actual clients?
I mean, there's never 100% with clients, right? So I set a pretty specific parameters with what my expectations are. I'm really upfront. I don't want to go. I don't ghost candidates. I'm not going to ghost. So if it's a situation where the clients can't be responsive and they can't give me feedback I give them some chances. But if it's not going to match, it's not going to match, right? It's hard to tell that up front. But I've been really fortunate in the sense that I've come across some really incredible clients who really care about the people and their employees in their organizations. And on the candidate side, I'm obviously looking for the hard skills and all those kind of things, but I'm also looking for people who take accountability. I ask a lot of questions, or we ask a lot of questions about, tell me a little bit about a time where you've had something that you made a mistake in. How did you handle that? Like, how did you move through that? So we want to get a gauge on who they really are versus just like a resume, you know?
And then on the client side, how do you filter who's a good client for you, who can provide you a lot of work while staying true to your own values?
I mean, I think it's hard to know that right away. I mean, early on in the process, we do a pretty detailed, I do a lot of reviews on them. I look at them, I search them out. I want to talk to the people in charge. I'm usually working directly with the CEOs or the executives of the organization to understand what their mission is, what their purpose is, what are their struggles. I can intuitively pretty much understand pretty quickly if it's a company that's really about their people, or is it a company just about money and just about like churn and burn, or is it someone who really wants to bring in high quality people? Because that's the thing, like, companies that want to bring in high quality people, they understand that they have to pay them well, they have to give them benefits, they have to treat them well. And so companies that show those values to me, those are the kind of clients I want to work with.
What are your top goals this year as the CEO?
I want to bring in 2 to 3 more recruiters, and I want to bring in another BD person. I want to start a podcast maybe this year or next, and just bring in more structure in the overall space, more automation, refining the recruitment process itself, bringing in more automation in that piece as well. We've done a really good job with that, but able to reach out to the passive candidates, easier, and being able to have those kind of conversations. So that's really my focus this year.
And you were booked on various pods, I understand, from checking on your website. How did you get on 14 podcasts so far?
I don't know. It's kind of word of mouth. I sort of did a couple, right? And then I guess people saw me do them and they were like, oh, like Sheila sounds like an interesting guest, and then they asked me to come on and it kind of just unfolded that way.
Your growth strategies, which one would they be? And the automations, like what did you had in mind when it comes to this?
I mean, I do a lead generation, campaign, and I've had some success with that. But I definitely feel like the podcast piece and like people kind of being in my, I don't know, being in my energy, so to speak, or hearing my mission, my purpose, and all those kind of things. I feel like that has been the most pivotal piece. I've picked up quite a few clients from that, the podcasting.
And the automation part, is it like on the sales part, or do you also want to automatically email when clients when you have a fit for them, for example?
I haven't done it from that place. I think it's a little bit, I want to personalize that a little bit more, that interaction, but we do have automation on reaching candidates. So we do have automation on how to source passive candidates. So we do like lead campaigns with that as well. So that's been really great as well. And we have a CRM that ties in everything.
Then construction recruitment caught my attention because it's a men's industry. How did you swim in that one?
I've always been in male-dominated industries. I worked in medical, which was very much physicians. I mean, they were female physicians, but a lot of the physicians I worked with were surgeons and a lot of men. And then I worked in oil and gas recruiting for a number of years, and again, a lot of it was executive men. And so I don't know. It's just been something I've been comfortable with, I think.
Yeah, then what did you do in your life when you had that adversity and when it was that overwhelming pressure? I'm not saying that it was necessarily in construction industry, but leading a startup is hard. What do you do to keep your shit together and move forward?
I mean, I work with a mentor. I mean, I'm all about the energy, right? So I work with a coach who helps me, more on my spiritual side, honestly, to connect to myself again and again and again, to remind me to stay out of my mind so much and stop believing my intrusive thoughts. I'm very much about meditation. I mean, exercise, movement, I eat mostly plant-based. I don't drink alcohol. So, I mean, these are things I do during my day. I take breaks. I don't want to live in a place of hustle. So I take breaks. I might go and take my dog for a walk or just do a quick stretch. But I listen to my body a lot. I'm very in line with my body, and I ask my body what it wants all the time. I know that's a little woo for you, but that's really what I do.
It's definitely not woo. Like I'm a biohacker and yeah, not listening to your body if you're tired. And I mean, my routine is always different, right? Like from day to day, it's not in perfect alignment. There's ups, there's downs, and I constantly adapt, and sometimes you don't really know why you're feeling like shit. Might be
Right.
something you ate 3 days ago that's surfacing, because
Yeah.
chemicals nowadays, there's weird stuff and some stuff we eat or even some stuff that we breathe
Yeah.
can be emotions, also can be all kinds of things. So
Absolutely.
definitely not woo woo, definitely makes a lot of sense. What legacy do you want to leave to your daughter?
I want to leave for me personally. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get all emotional, but I want to leave her a legacy of living a life of experiences lived. I feel like a lot of us live in survival so much of our lives before we see the truth, right? We believe the stories that people tell about us. We project that onto us of our beliefs. And something I really talk about so much with her is like, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about you. It just matters what you believe about yourself. And so sometimes things are hard and you have to be able to move through those, but always have different choices. And those different choices take you into a new experience. So that's really the legacy I want to share with her.
Nice. Yeah, rabbit holes can take you places. Where can people find out more about you, Suman?
My website, cherrytalentgroup.com, and I'm all over LinkedIn, Suman Cherry. You can always find me on there. And I put a lot of postings and I put a lot of my whatever I feel like sharing, so you can always find me on there.